This week on Not Just a Hat Rack, as voted by you in the poll, we're going to look back at my personal 30-year love story with everything Resident Evil, from the movies to the games to the horrible things in between. But as well, we'll always dive into WWE because we love to cover our favorite topic on the channel. Congrats to the King and Queen, Obafemi and Io Sky. We'll see what SummerSlam looks like now. And of course, Sami Zayn, the new WWE champion. And what the hell is going to happen with that? This is June 30th, 2026, and this is episode 5. Hold on to your hats. So Night of Champions is behind us now, and as you know, if you've been listening to the podcast, we wanted LA Knight to get there. We wanted it all to be about LA Knight, but unfortunately, it had to be someone else. And if it was going to be anyone else, it might as well be, what do they call him? The upstart? Obafemi, who supposedly retired Brock Lesnar, but Brock Lesnar just apparently wanted a month off. But now he's back. So anyway, Oba beat Jay clean, which was a happy surprise, because everything leading up to it, everybody talking, anyone we might have talked about as well, like, it just was so set up for, well, either Brock's going to cost Oba, or the bloodline will cost Oba, someone will help Jay, or it'll be all the kind of shenanigans they could have had. And they decided against all that, which was kind of a, like I said, a happy surprise. But it was just, of all things in WWE lately, it's like that was fresh to have a clean winner. Now, the problem with that winner, we'll talk about in a second here, because first, before we get into that, I'd like to also congratulate Io Sky, because, when the weird thing about the Io Sky win is obviously she challenges Liv Morgan after beating Liv Morgan. But it makes sense, because if you beat the champion, obviously you can beat the champion again. So will Liv Morgan still be champion come SummerSlam? Probably. They made the graphic. I mean, usually once they make the graphic, it's official, which means Liv Morgan again will not be defending her championship until SummerSlam, which means I think that'll be her first title defense, because she won it at WrestleMania. And to win at WrestleMania and have the title till SummerSlam and 0 defenses, sure, she had matches and she was in the Queen of the Ring, but she did lose the final match. So she's like, what, 2-1 in singles matches? Like, she really hasn't wrestled a lot, which is horrible, because, like I've always said, they could do so much with her. But happy to see Io Sky win. If I couldn't get LA Knight right, I got Io right. And so really happy to see what they're going to do with that. I think the Judgment Day will probably implode when Liv loses. Well, Liv will implode when she loses the title. And it'll be so awesome to see Io and Rhea as the respective champions. And if we get that, which, I mean, depending on Rhea's injury and stuff, they really haven't said too much. Like, I think they're kind of playing it safe. Like, no one's defending their titles anyway, so what's the point of even having, anyone relinquish a title if it's like, hey, it's only going to be like 3 months or 2 months. It's like, well, just pretend they're not injured and put Tiffany Stratton in the ring. People will forget, which has worked well for them. But Io Sky and Rhea could have that crown jewel match, and that would be a fun way to have them fight each other, stay friends, stay champions, and then of course build something towards WrestleMania. Because I really love the idea of a Rhea Io long game. In the end, see what happens. Just keep going, just keep adding to that lore that we love here on Not Just a Hat Rack. So, but let us know in the comments what you think about the King, the Queen. Obviously just the wins, because we're going to go into after what the hell is going on after Raw. But yeah, obviously Sami Zayn as well, winning his first WWE title, which kind of seemed like the triple threat was leading to that. But I mean, they've done it before so many times with triple threats, and it's like, hey, here's a chance to put the title on someone else. Cody doesn't have to lose, but Cody did lose. Sami pinned Cody. And so that's a big deal. And so we'll see what happens. Well, even though I did hear Smackdown was taped last night, so even though Smackdown's taped, I don't know the spoilers. I don't know what's going on. I don't really want to know. I kind of like knowing the day of. Even if I find out the day of, it's like, well, at least I get to watch it. Whereas if I find out now, it's like, now I'm kind of regretting knowing too much, because it's a lot harder to watch when you already know. It's like any kind of sports game. You know, like, I mean, I don't like, I'll watch a sports game live, but if I've already recorded it or I know the outcome, I'll fast forward to the good parts. And I do the same thing with wrestling. And it's a bad habit sometimes because there'll be times when if I'm multitasking, I like having wrestling on because I pay attention to it. I hear it all the time and I keep looking over. But if I'm doing something else, I can't exactly, it's like fast forward. So, you know, even if there's like a Ricky Saints match comes on and hey, time to go to the bathroom, then I don't have to pause it either, right? So I'm not missing anything there. And you'll get that reference if you saw our recent short where we had our good friend Anisha on, and we had just a quick little panty rating. So I'll drop a link for that in the below as well. So on to Raw. Obafemi came out and challenged. Well, he didn't challenge anybody. He he got interrupted by Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman, who apparently is 100% healed. And apparently Paul Heyman is putting the vision behind him as well, because Austin Theory came up and was like, dude, where you been? Like, he's an ex-girlfriend or his girlfriend. And it's like, oh my God, I didn't know you were here. And Paul Heyman was just like, well, now you know. And I was like, well, okay. I guess Heyman's just 100% going in on Brock. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with Braun Breaker, especially they said they're doing a rematch for the tag titles next week. So I don't know what that does with all division, all the injuries, all the stuff. So I think it's really time to go past it. And with Seth putting Braun behind him, and with Seth also at the end of the show coming out and challenging Roman, it's like, hey, good thing Brock showed up, because if Brock didn't show up, Seth would have looked like quite the fool to come out at the end of the show to challenge Roman if Oba picked Roman. So it's almost like it's predetermined, which, you know, of course it is. But the setup, and that's what I was going to mention as well, is like when Austin Theory saw Paul Heyman, he's like, I got a match later, you know, you should come out with me like old times. And that's when Paul Heyman turned on him. And then later, Austin Theory interrupts Joe Hendry's concert with the Street Profits. And then Joe Hendry challenges him. And then I even said it as I was watching. I wish I had the reaction video, which I didn't record. But it's like, Michael Cole, I said it before he said it. I was like, please do not say this is an impromptu match, because Austin Theory already announced earlier he has a match tonight. Sure enough, they come back from commercial, and Michael Cole, oh, this impromptu match with Austin Theory and Joe Hendry. It's like that you planned, because Austin Theory said he had a match tonight. So who was his original opponent supposed to be? Maybe Grayson Waller. We'll never know. We'll never know what happened to Grayson Waller either. He needs to be on a milk carton. Actually, I'm going to have an episode pretty soon. There's a lot of guys that are on milk cartons lately, and I'm really missing some people from my television. So maybe that's something we'll cover next week. But Joker, what do you feel about the King and Queen of the Ring results and Oba not taking his title shot?
Well, this is going to be kind of a Joker rant about that, because at the end of the day, when you have them not go after a title, and the main thing that they've did throughout these past few years is the winner gets a title opportunity at SummerSlam, you basically are foregoing your own stipulations and your own rules just to do a match that I don't really think anyone wants to see. I'm happy that this time around it's in Hell in a Cell, but it's going to be the same old song and dance at the end of the day. The Liv Morgan Io Sky match, love Io. I'm glad that she won. But as I mentioned back in a couple episodes when we were discussing King and Queen of the Ring, and it got to this situation, I don't want to see this match again because I just saw it at Night of Champions. They should have
They love
saved it
doing
for
rematches.
SummerSlam. I know this, and that's the thing. And Sami Zayn winning the WWE Championship, great for Sami. It's just that's them sticking their fingers in my, coconut cream pie, and I don't want it anymore. I don't want the pie anymore. Keep your fingers out of my pie. I don't want it.
So who's the pie here?
But
Is Sammy the pie, or is Cody the pie? I don't understand the reference of sticking fingers in your pie.
okay, okay. The WWE Championship is the pie.
Mm.
The finger is Sami Zayn. They stuck the finger in my pie. I'm like, I knew it had to happen eventually. It's just, I, I, I
Well, I
just
mean,
don't
it's
know
already
how to feel
coconut
about
cream
it
pie,
currently.
so I mean, I prefer any other cream pie besides coconut, so makes sense. I would say
I'm
Sammy's more like the coconut cream pie. He's like, you know what? I'll pass on that. Give me that Drew McIntyre banana cream pie. You know what I'm talking about? Or some nice pumpkin pie like a Rhea Ripley. We're gonna have to do a pie rating now. We're do wrestlers compared to pies. I love that. Write that down.
Yes, can do. But I am excited to see where it goes. It's just I'm tired of the rematches. I'm glad they're all in on Oba, but don't put it at a cost to like something you've already built. And I get it, Oba can have a title shot down the line. That's fine. It's just WWE needs to try and stick to their
It,
own
exactly. It's
rules
not
at
part
the
of the
end of the day.
stipulation. The stipulation says the king and queen face a champion at SummerSlam. That's kind of like what they tried to do with Cody when The Rock showed up. You know what? Hey, you know what? I won the Royal Rumble, but I'm going to let The Rock fight you at WrestleMania. I'll fight you for the title some other time. No. This is how it's built. This is how you've set it up. So you can't just come in and say, "Hey, by the way, Oba's going to fight Brock." If you were going to do that, and if you wanted to make people think we don't know who's going to win, you just might as well have Jay win it, because then Jay can challenge Sami, because he was going to challenge Cody anyway. You know, you had that built last week, and I liked that. I liked the idea that if they teased Jay had 3 possible opponents. He had Gunther, Sami, and Cody, who he all has history with, and it would have been great to see. And you could have just had the shenanigans. You could have had Brock Lesnar show up and cost Oba, and then Jay wins. But maybe I don't know. It's like you could have. There was a better way to go about it if this was the end game for SummerSlam. Not end game, obviously, overall, but making it a Hell in a Cell, I believe, hopefully means this will end Brock, Oba. Like, Brock Lesnar's old enough. He should die in that Hell in a Cell if he's going in there against Oba Femi. Like, this should be. Like, I don't know what these two. Like, I don't know. I think they said Brock's never lost a Hell in a Cell. I don't know. I've never seen a Hell in a Cell with Brock in it, so I don't know what to expect. But I just don't. Like, it's a lot. I'll tell you again, all right? No one can compare to that CM Punk Drew McIntyre Hell in a Cell. That's literally the Hell in a Cell of a lifetime. I know people talk about Undertaker and Mankind, Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. Undertaker Mankind's on a different level because of, as far as wrestling and what they did, there wasn't a lot. Because there was a lot of, he died, by God, he's broken in half, he fell through the thing. There was a lot of between time during that. It was just an unbelievable spectacle. Shawn Michaels and Undertaker was beautiful, but I would put CM Punk and Drew McIntyre above the Shawn Michaels Undertaker, and only because of quality of match, I would put it above Undertaker Mankind as well. As memorable, no one will ever forget Undertaker Mankind, but it's not because of the wrestling. It's because he got thrown off the cage, he fell through the cage. Those, like, name one move that they did besides those two. Exactly.
Tombstone choke slam.
Yeah,
2.
okay, well,
That's it.
the 2 moves of doom. Did he do old school? Probably not, because Hell in a Cell. They were at the top. It was just, yeah. Anyway, Drew McIntyre, best person ever. So to think about Oba and Brock in Hell in a Cell, it's like, I just don't know what they're gonna, like. They would just like smash each other into the cell. Like, they're not going out of the cage. They're not going to the top. If they go on top of that cage, I don't know how or what the hell they're gonna do to get down. Not that they're not agile enough to get up there, but it's just, there's no need. Like, Punk and Drew didn't have to leave the cage. The reason for Hell in a Cell is to keep it enclosed. And so many times, people have broken out, gone up top, started on top, you know? It's like, yeah. Like, one of these days we're going to have an elimination chamber where people start on top of the damn cage. They just love throwing that shit in there.
I mean, at the end of the day, if they really want to use Hell in a Cell as a feud ending stipulation, like, this would be the right way to do it, because that's how they did it with Punk and Drew. And I honestly feel like Brock and Oba, at the end of the day, locked inside of a giant cage, are just gonna basically use and abuse it and possibly break it, but I don't think they're gonna go out of it.
No, there's no reason to. But I hope this is, instead of Gunther retiring Brock, let Oba do it in a trilogy, I guess. The WrestleMania thing was fine, but I mean, yeah, it's a little wishy-washy what they're doing. That's for sure. So, But the one good thing, I was actually thinking about this as well, because we covered last week, is people moving up from the U.S. or Intercontinental title and moving on to the WWE Championship. And now we can add Sami Zayn to that. And also, I think he's a Grand Slam champion. So having Sami Zayn be that person that, and it's funny because of course, I never mentioned him because I wasn't really thinking about Sami Zayn winning the title. I was just thinking about guys down the line, like even Braun Breaker, in a year or two win a title, Ethan Page within like 3-4 years. Like you have that natural progression. I mean, I know Sami took longer, but at the same time, 10 years. 10 years is not bad. And the way that the WWE is now and the position he's been in for the past like 4 or 5 years, like since he was in the bloodline, the stuff with Roman when he broke out, that Elimination Chamber match in Montreal, and then the tag titles with KO, and then he beat Gunther for the Intercontinental, and then, what did he do What did he do WrestleMania after he beat Gunther? I did know at one point. He beat someone else. But then he had the U.S. title this year. So it was kind of a step back, but it's not a step back because he never won the big one yet. But anyway, fun fact, Trick Williams, who is the United States champion, has beat Sami Zayn twice this year. So if Trick Williams can come out and be like, hey, he's United States champ, but he beat the current champ. So it's that perfect progression of, have Trick beat Sami, Sami moves up, kind of like when Stone Cold lost the Intercontinental title. He lost the Intercontinental title to The Rock or someone like that, and then he moved on to fight for the world title, and he won. Well, now when The Rock moves up, so now that's going to happen, Once Trick is good enough in the U.S. title scene and they want to move that to someone else within the next year or two, Trick moves up. Sami, I don't think Sami's going to be around as a multiple-time champion over the next 3-4 years. But if he is, you can have that moment where you can have Trick and Sami, who fought for the U.S. title, now fighting for the WWE title. And so it's just part of that natural progression we covered last week. So it's really, really full circle moment for as far as what we were covering. So that was really nice. So, but yeah, the main topic, because there is a lot of SummerSlam talk, so we're going to probably dive into that next week, whereas right now it's just that little bit of Night of Champions fallout and things going all sorts of ways that don't make sense right now. But the main topic, which we are going to jump into, we had a poll, and luckily enough, I think it was 80% voted that we talk about Resident Evil. And Resident Evil has been my favorite game, IP, whatever you want to call it, for the longest time. And one of the reasons why is because, let's switch this up here quick, doing it on the fly. This was my introduction to Resident Evil, because I remember being 15, 16 years old, and we didn't even own a PlayStation at the time. But we rented a PlayStation, rented Resident Evil, because I've always been a huge, huge zombie fan. Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead. Anything zombies that came, before zombies were cool. Before it was mainstream with Walking Dead and stuff. And I even liked The Walking Dead before everybody jumped on board. Always been something about zombies. I don't know why. But, actually, I might just turn the sound off for this. The visuals will be enough. But anyway, so playing Resident Evil, having this, and of course back then, that's when Sega CD was big. And I love FMV games back then. I even love them now. There's a lot of FMV games. And so to see them have an opening like this, like where they actually filmed, and there's so much history behind this, and they've done some recent stuff with the actual actors from this era, from this scene. They filmed some new stuff, and it's really cool to see them all together with Barry, Wesker, Chris, all those guys together again. I think even Rebecca was there. They didn't have the original Jill, though. Nobody knows what happened to Jill. Maybe she got turned into a sandwich. But anyway, so seeing this, I'll never forget. And watching it still gives me chills, even though it looks cheesy and stuff now. Even the game itself was probably pretty cheesy. Resident Evil 1 was, it was kind of meant to be cheesy. It was kind of like a B-horror movie. The dubbing, obviously, was a little off, but moments like, wait, don't open that door. It's like, oh my God, Wesker's played by William Shatner. I love it. Love William Shatner. Love Wesker. Love Resident Evil. So anyway, So just the moments of going up the stairs, utilizing the loading screens with the doors opening, the going up the stairs, and it seemed seamless from scene to scene without any kind of filler, or like some things where they'd have like the loading screens. Like a lot of the times, those original PlayStation games, you'd have a loading screen forever, or it'd be that little thing. It would have like a hint, and it's like sits on the screen for like a minute. It's like, well, if you just have like this tiny little scene that like could like basically just transition into the next scene. And the best thing about that was it was kind of like Silent Hill did. Silent Hill utilized the fog because they couldn't show how far away. So it's like, well, they made that part of the game. And with Resident Evil doing that, it was always, you didn't know what was on the other side of the door. You didn't know what was up the stairs. So, I mean, unless you played it before and stuff. But when that first experience was, I was hooked from the very beginning. And I mean, obviously, Chris, Jill, both had their strengths and weaknesses, because I think it was Chris couldn't play the piano, but luckily Rebecca could. There she is, Rebecca Chambers. We all know Wesker has a thing for her, so that's awkward. Yeah, there he is, Albert Wesker. To evil. I love it. They escaped into the mansion. All right. I love that. I love that opening scene. But anyway, so Resident Evil, the first one was off the charts. The second one, obviously, had two new characters to play. The best thing about Resident Evil 2 was the fact that it was 2 discs, and when you played through as one character, you could put in the other disc, load your save, and then there was like a B-side. I don't know if the remake did that. I can't remember. I don't think they did. But Claire being the connection to Chris was nice. Leon was new. I don't know what the whole purpose of bringing someone new in was. I mean, we don't need Leon. Not a huge Leon supporter over here, so don't hate me. But Claire looking for Chris, the dynamic and stuff. It felt different because it was wider open, like for a bit. Like you get to the police station and it's pretty much just the mansion. Like a lot of Resident Evil games, they did the same kind of thing. You find a place that gets deeper into another area, that gets deeper into a hidden lab, where you have to kill a creature, get out, get on the helicopter, and survive. It's just Resident Evil 101. I think they even did that for Resident Evil Requiem, pretty much. Actually, how the hell do that end? Do you end by leaving in a helicopter? I don't even remember. I played it a few months ago, and I already forgot, because all I can think is it's just ingrained in my mind that that's how Resident Evil ends. Like, I played Resident Evil 0 recently as well. I think it was either before Requiem or after Requiem, because I wanted to... I don't think I ever played through it because I was so pissed off with that damn train scene. But Resident Evil 3 was very short. And it had an entirely different style. Instead of being I've only got this many bullets, and I only got this many ink ribbons, and certain areas and stuff. It's like you had to like stay on the run. You had to really just, I don't know. There wasn't enough time to really to soak it all in and search everything and do everything. It was just, as far as I remember, because I don't think I played the original. I didn't play the remake of 3. I think I got the remake of 3 because it came with Reverse or whatever. No, not Reverse. What was the other one? They had so many different things. Resistance, which, oh my god, not sidetrack at all, because we're talking about Resident Evil. But Resistance, I was so upset because I got it on PlayStation, and for the first month, I was not able to play as a mastermind. I could not queue up. And when I found out there were certain regions where it was having matchmaking issues where you couldn't be the mastermind, I'm like, well, fuck, I guess I'll play Survivor, this and that. And it was okay. And I liked the idea of it. And then when I could finally play mastermind, I was like, oh, good, I can finally play. I think I got to do it once in that entire time. And then when I finally did, it's like, well, it's already a month or so or 2-3 months into the game. All these people have been playing Survivor nonstop. So now I couldn't even do anything because it was like I never had the experience to take on. So I was like playing it as a brand new player with all these people who have had months of experience, and it's like, well, kind of just ruined the experience. But the idea was fun. The execution not so bad, not so good. Which is kind of the same thing with the Resident Evil 3 remake I've heard, but I never even played the game because I got it, and yeah. So I think I got it around the time I got my PC. So it was like, hey, I got Resident Evil 3 remake. Oh, got my PC. Tucked my PlayStation away. Like, it was, put away after that. So, but the good thing about all the side pieces and all the different things that they failed is eventually they took all the good and all the stuff, like from Outbreak 2, like those games were so ahead of their time where you had to plug a fancy thing into the back of the PlayStation 2 to like play online with other people, and it was like that shit didn't happen. I'll tell you right now, at my age, you didn't play online with games and friends, not like you do now. That was not an everyday occurrence. But the original trilogy of games were very near dear to my heart, and I still own the originals today because I can still play them on my PlayStation and my PlayStation 2. And then, okay. This isn't really being unhinged. This is not a rant. This is not, it's, okay, I might be a little unhinged. Resident Evil 4, which a lot of people say they love Resident Evil 4 and blah, 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 blah. There was the first Resident Evil and it's so good and all this stuff. Okay, I just want you to take a look at the screen here. It had a comparison. I only put the one because literally, like I said, the original Resident Evils 1, 2, and 3, it was about inventory management. It was about, fight or flight. You ran into a room and it was a hunter and it was like, oh my god, I have my shotgun with 2 shells and I have my Magnum with 1 bullet and I have, my whatever, your normal gun with like 1 clip, and it's like I can unload an entire clip, but then I'm only left with this ammo. I don't know when the next time I'll come across ammo is because I might have to fight the stupid plant or the damn shark and all these different things you don't know are coming at you. Resident Evil 4 comes along, and as the picture shows, Leon runs around and he kills a zombie and he gets ammo, and he pops open a crate and he gets herbs, and it's just like raining freaking bullets and guns and health and gems, and it's not... To me, it was not Resident Evil. The game is fine. The story is okay. It's just the gameplay to me. You can say all you want about tank controls, but when that game came out, that was top of the line. 1996, 1997, those late 90s. That Resident Evil was revolutionary. So when Resident Evil 4 came out, and people they redefined survival horror. It's like, no, they turned survival horror into a action game, which only got, speaking of which, the merchant, what are you buying? Best part of the game. Actually, another fun part about the game, there was a part, and I learned about this years later. If you kept dying in the one area, maybe it was other parts as well, but there was a certain area that, like, when you first went into that room, I think there was like 6 or 8 people that would attack you. And if you died there multiple times, instead of where now they give you the option to like pick an easier difficulty, they actually spawned less enemies. And so the game would adapt to your skill level, which was fun to find out that was actually part of Capcom's strategy with the game at the time, which was ahead of its time as well. But Resident Evil 4 introduced a lot of stuff that they were like, okay, everyone like Resident Evil 4. So Capcom's like, all right, let's triple down and put all our money on the table and make Resident Evil 5. You can have 2 people play side by side on a couch. Resident Evil, hardcore action. It's Resident Evil 4 on frickin' steroids. You'd think that I would hate it because I wasn't a fan of 4, but knowing what I was getting, knowing that Resident Evil 5 was going to be an action game, not as much survival horror, just running and punching and killing boulders, and Sheva telling me to reload 20 times and handing her a shotgun and her using her pistol. All the great moments from Resident Evil 5 that you just want to hate. I loved Resident Evil 5 because personally, I got to play it on a couch with my daughter. And we played through that game so many times. And we played through Mercenaries. And we had all the maps memorized. And the experience for me was worth it. And it was Resident Evil enough, because it had Chris, it had Wesker, it had, I don't know. I liked 5 better than 4 for all of those reasons. I have Resident Evil 4 on my Oculus, which I've played through, which is decent. I played through most of it, and it's decent because the Oculus experience makes 4 a better game. Because the story's decent still, but it's based on the original 4, so not the remake, which is nice. I never played the remake of 4 either. I think I played the remake of 1 and 2, and now I'm excited for the remake of Veronica, of course. And actually, Code Veronica, another good game, which I think came between. I can't even remember what's. I know it came before 4 because that's when they changed everything. So it was around. It was after 2, maybe. But Code Veronica was good. I liked the story. I liked, they had Chris and Wesker in there, and they had. Was it Claire again? It had to be Claire, yeah. So it was Claire. I mean, anything without Leon is a great Resident Evil game. That's why I like 1, 3, 5, 7, 8. Code Veronica. So Resident Evil 5, I think, was a pretty big hit. They had a good thing. And I remember when it came out, or is it a while after it came out, they're like, hey, you know, it's gonna be like 7 years till the next Resident Evil game. We have nothing in the works, you know, or we're gonna try to be big. So it's like, I think it was like a year or two after Resident Evil 5. It's like 7 more years. I'm like, that's a long time between Resident Evil games. And then I think it was like 2-3 years later, they must have just like had a bunch of secret teams, and I think that's what it was. They had different teams working on different parts of the game, which is why it feels like multiple games, because it is kind of different. But Resident Evil 6 drops only a couple years later, after they just announced, oh, it'll be 7 years. And it's like 2-3 years later, boom, Resident Evil 6 is out. It's like, wow, that was awesome and fast. And you can tell, obviously I don't have the Resident Evil 4 cover here, but you can tell how much effort they put into a game by the cover sometimes. Resident Evil 5, you've got Chris, you boulder bashing bastard, and Sheva, the reload mother. Yeah, just that's
badass militant.
All she says is reload. Reload.
I know.
Reload.
Reload.
What does Wesker say? 7 minutes. 7 minutes is all I have. Like, the game has so much good stuff. 5. There's so many things. And actually, I played through 5 again with my good friend Cal. We had a show we used to do on Twitch, and we played through Resident Evil 5, as well as some other games. Maybe I'll try and find a clip or a link to some of our old streams, and you can check those fun things out of not only the boulder bashing, but the moments when we had to fight Jill, and it was just hell trying to get that damn thing off Jill. But Jill looked damn good in that game. Always liked Jill. Jill's always been my favorite. Ada. Yeah. I mean, you know what? That's the best thing about Leon. Leon gave us Ada, and I will thank him for that, and that is it. But 6 comes along, and look at the cover. Like I say, the cover of 6 is what? Spider webs that make a 6, and the Resident Evil is basic font. Like, even the Resident Evil for 5 looks basic. It was low effort, high execution, like introducing multiple like, you know, like the different like pairings, and it was like, it just, I don't know. Someone took 5 and the animated movies and said, let's just throw it to the wall. And 6 is one of the best selling. I think 6 outsold 5 or 4 or something like that. It's higher up on the list because everyone was so excited for it. But well, it wasn't the biggest letdown. The biggest letdown was that stupid Umbrella Corps or whatever, where you don't even play as, it's like you play as Umbrella people in like your SWAT armor, and you go around. But actually, hold on. The good thing about that game, you have the option to kill Leon, and I took it every time. But 6 was a disappointment. It does have some fun. Like, I think we tried playing it a little while ago and stuff, and revisiting it. It's like, after playing Requiem, it's like, okay, I can see the Leon stuff from Requiem is very Resident Evil 6, but done better. It's not as obvious. And that's where Requiem, I think, did a lot better than 6. Is they took the idea from 6 and like just like everything before, they enhanced every time they did it. But after Resident Evil 6's failure, and actually it took me a few years because I was a little behind in gaming, but then I got myself a PlayStation 4. I got myself a VR, and I did that for one game, and one game only, and that was Resident Evil 7. Resident Evil in VR. This is where they redefined survival horror, not with Resident Evil 4, because you can see the pattern. Resident Evil begins. Resident Evil 2, they try and expand on it. Resident Evil 3 was a step away. Resident Evil 4 was a change. Resident Evil 5 was that change on steroids. Resident Evil 6 was that change worse than steroids. I don't even know what you would call 6 compared to like what 4 did to the games. It's nothing compared to what 6 tried to do. But
pile of dog crap.
No,
that's what 6 is.
no. Like metaphorically. I mean,
Metaphorically, yes.
5 is 4 on steroids. 6 is 5 on, like, you know, I don't want to say any kind of drug, but that's horrible. No. Anyway, Resident Evil 7 comes along, redefined, saves the franchise, because not only after did Resident Evil 6 just like make everybody forget Resident Evil was scary. I think there was one thing in Resident Evil 6 would scare you, like having to play as Leon, maybe, I don't know. But anyway, Resident Evil 7 playing in VR was amazing, and I think the game came out in January, whatever year it was, and it won VR Game of the Year, and it had all year. Every game that came out after it had all year to beat it, but it was so good. And usually that's what happens. Like, you know, you have a game come out in January that's so good, but it's like you have, 12 more months, 11 more months of a game to come along that could be better. Not one VR game came out that was better than Resident Evil 7 that year, and that says a lot. So between the story, the horror, everything in that game, it wasn't the same as the original Resident Evils. It was like a rebirth of Resident Evil, where it introduces something kind of new. It still stays in that universe. And for the first time, and I don't get jump scared often, ever, and especially with movies, games, anything, like I can sit and like, almost emotionless sometimes, which is not a good thing, but it happens. But Resident Evil 7 made me jump twice, because turning my head with the VR headset on and seeing those big black creatures coming at you, because you don't hear them sometimes, you just turn your head and it's right there, or you see through the wall and the feet, and the girl runs by, and just the audio, the immersiveness, Jack. Was it Jack? Is Jack the one?
Yes, it's Jack, because he terrified me the most out of anything other than the molded. The molded got me a couple times, I will not lie myself, because they were very unpredictable. Like, they were so brand new and, something different that this franchise hadn't seen. But that's such a good thing, though.
It was a good thing. And it wasn't like the thing like they did in like Zero, when they tried to do whatever those flinging eel creature things were, and you only could beat them with fire. At least these things could be taken down with bullets or whatever. Like, and the other thing was, like, the enemies weren't overwhelming, whereas the way they did in the originals was you'd have hordes or you'd have zombies, and it'd be fight or flight. And in the later ones, it would just be, like I say, the action game, where it's just like, oh my god, there's 20 of them, but I have so much ammo because they drop ammo when I kill them. This took that all back. I mean, it did introduce the fact where you could just pour a little bit of like first aid on your hand and it'll like reattach itself. But hey, you know what? We're not here to judge. That's still better than anything that 4, 5, and 6 did. So
right.
But the idea of Ethan and the character and stuff, and they went deeper with it in Village, which is actually pretty good, because I don't know if it had to be the original plan, but the idea that they did Village, where it's Ethan's story continues, and you find out everything deeper, and I think what Village covered, and Village I didn't play for years. I think it was 3 years after it came out. I finally got it for a decent price, and being as big as a Resident Evil fan as I am, I was really surprised that I didn't get anything spoiled. All I knew was about, was it Mother Miranda is her name, and the 3 sisters, yes. And it's like, oh my god, all this stuff. And what?
Lady Demetress. That's all you knew. You knew
exactly.
Lady Demetress.
I've seen, obviously, you can't not see that anywhere if you knew anything about it. But that's all I knew. I knew nothing else about the other people, about anything else, or how deep it goes with Umbrella, and how, like, he was there and he used that symbol because of that, and all the, it really brought a lot to the series that made it like it didn't even like it can't even say it like retroactively put anything in, because it was just like you have what you know, you didn't know everything. Here's a look deeper, here's a look back of like the origins of the origin of the origin, you know, and then connecting it with the Ethan story was brilliant. So Village, although, and I think that's the reason I avoided Village in the beginning, is because it was released as first person, and the only reason I played 7 is because it was VR. First person, not a big fan, especially Resident Evil. It just didn't sound right. So when Village came out, it was only, I think it was VR for PlayStation 5, so the PSVR 2, which of course I was not going to do that again. I did it for 7. I'm not going to buy a whole console and a VR for another game. So when I could finally play it, they had the option for third person, and I played through it in third person, loved it. And so, and of course you get to be Chris, and you get your action hero moment there. So it doesn't need to be an action game, but you can have action elements. And what they did in 8, where they had, you know, the Ethan story, and it's got the serious and the scary, and then they had the small moment of Chris just ripping shit through everybody, you know, which felt good. Playing as Chris again felt real good. And that's what they capitalized. And I think almost every single person agrees. When Resident Evil Requiem was announced, and they showed, okay, it's some girl we don't know. It's this story, like we don't, like it was mysterious enough, but it's like it looked good, it sounded good, and then they had to go and shit Leon into it. Personally, I would have been fine without it. The game itself is great, but you really need Leon. And I mean, also, there's 2 ways to finish that game, by the way, and I did the right way first, and you'll know what I mean if you know what I mean. Don't spoil it, Joker. So, the Resident Evil Requiem basically looked at every single game before it and implemented every good thing that had ever happened to Resident Evil. You've got 2 characters to play. Instead of being, you know, playing side by side with someone, you're playing both stories. You've got stuff from Village where you have that action with Chris and you have the horror with Ethan, but you've got it now with, damn, what the hell's her name? Grace. You got the horror with Grace, first person, although I think I played third person the whole way through. I might have tried a little bit of first person with her, but like I said, without VR, first person just didn't feel right. And third person is just, it's more custom. I'm more accustomed to that. So the Grace gameplay was great, and I loved the zombies and how they had real personalities, and they had, like, you know, the cook, and then the guy that would turn off the lights, and these people were like just turned, or they were, you know, they weren't mindless as much as the zombies were just, like, you know, racing around. And then the Leon part was great because it really gave that backstory, and you got to revisit, you know, Raccoon City. You get to see Leon now, years later, grizzled old veteran, you know, and oh my god, he's married, and to who? Probably Claire. And so you have all the good from every Resident Evil, and Resident Evil Requiem, everyone said it, but it is a whole love letter to the series. And I can't believe it. I think other than the first, well, 2 I only played through a few times because I did go through A and B with each character. So at least had 4 or 5 endings. Resident Evil 1 I played to get every ending, every possibility, played it as much as possible. Other than Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil Requiem I probably played through the most. And because I was going through and getting all the achievements, or getting, you know, it was just fun to find this, or how can I do this faster, or I want to do the underground scene with the big nasty shit bitch that's afraid of the light again, you know, like I know where to find this and this now, so I can cut my time, and of course Joker and I couldn't, unlike 7 and 8 where I waited to get them. Resident Evil Requiem I got the day it dropped. Joker and I started playing it the exact same time. We kind of were on the same progression, and then it was almost like a race to who can get all the achievements, you know, who can get under 4 hours, who can get, you know, unlimited ammo, who can get, you know, and it was really fun to do that alongside a friend, because then it was like, I don't know, we both got to enjoy it, and it made me want to play it more. It made me want to explore more and find out everything and try things differently, and find out what you can do if you do, you know what I mean? So So that was a fun experience for that. Joker,
Yes.
is hold on. I have a question for you.
Okay.
Chill the fuck
Okay.
out. Is Resident Evil Requiem the best Resident Evil game you've ever played?
Okay, now that's a hard question,
Of course it
but
is.
it does have an easy answer at the end of the day. Resident Evil Requiem has got to be my second favorite Resident Evil game that I've
Oh
ever
no.
played.
Are we gonna have an issue here? I mean,
Okay.
for me, it's tied at number one with the first game because I loved the first game. This game I loved just as much. What I'm just scared to find out. But what did you like better than Resident Evil Requiem?
Okay, and this might be because of how I got introduced to the games. The first Resident Evil game I got introduced to was Resident Evil, and that's a game that I kind of fell in love with.
Hold on,
But
which one
like out
you
of the
cut out for a second there? Were you say 7?
oh 7,
Oh,
yeah,
thank
7.
God! I thought you were gonna say 4. Oh,
No,
sweating over
no,
here.
like I was gonna say out of the newer Resident Evils, it goes 7, Requiem, Village. I didn't really care for Village that much, but like as a whole, with connecting Ethan's story together, and he gets 2 games on his own, and I don't think they left anything out. I think they did perfect for that.
It came
That's
full
just
circle.
great.
His story is full circle.
Exactly.
You get a character in two game full circle, and then you can return to what they did in Requiem. You know, introduce a new character with an old character. Yeah. So
Exactly. And Requiem honestly did so much right and very little wrong. Actually, I don't think they really did much wrong other than some of the sections that are later in the game. Not gonna spoil anything for anyone that could be just a little bit shorter. Just a little bit.
well, okay. Well, we can talk about those because they're not like big. You know, like spoilers. Spoiler warning right here. I'll put a spoiler warning in the timestamps. That's what I'll do. So I know exactly what you're talking about because we've talked about this.
Yes.
Upon replaying the game, there are scenes that if you could just skip, or when you first play through, it's great. The part when you're in the what is it? The children's what is that place called? The nursery or the orphanage, right?
Orphanage.
You go
yes.
through the orphanage and you have that kind of. The first time you play through that makes sense for the story, but it's like playing through a cutscene. Every time you played after, you had to do that. There was no speed run. There was no do this quick, do that. You know, there was nothing you could do around it. It always took the same amount of time because of how it was set up. And the other one, of course, was the motorbike scene, right? Which wasn't too long.
Yes.
But it was just upon replay, you go, okay, I can run here. I do this and that. Okay, I need to get this card. You know, save here, go there, do that, grab her, do this, go downstairs. There's a real pattern to go. And then all of a sudden, orphanage. Oh, I gotta do this and this and this. Walk, wait. It's like, but not that I'm trying to speed run, but when it came to the speed runs, it was really tedious. And then the motorbike scene would say, okay, now I gotta drive and wait. Okay, shoot him, shoot these dogs. You know, oh, here's the cool scene where I jump up high. You know, now we crash. They just, whereas in the end, literally when you fight, what the hell is his name again? What the hell is the bad guy's name in regular game? Huh?
Oh, I thought you were talking about Hunk.
No, the very end.
Zero.
No, the
Zeno.
No, the
Zeno.
guy you actually fight.
Oh, the actual guy.
Victor?
Victor. Yes, Victor.
Victor what? What the camera was now. All I can think is something else. But yeah, so you fight him at the end, and it's funny because you can get his rocket launcher from him. One shot, you get to the next thing. Like if you get to the end with the rocket launcher, or you have the ultimate ammo or something like that, you shoot him with a rocket launcher. You can beat him in 3 shots, which is the end boss of the game. So I should be able to skip the motorbike scene and the orphanage scene and just call those cutscenes upon replay. But that sounds kind of like a complaint, but that's because everything else about the game is so perfect. It's like I got to complain about something.
Right. The only thing I can complain about is that they're right back to back because you do the motorbike scene first, then as soon as you enter RPD for that little section, and bam, orphanage right after.
Oh, that's right. It is right after.
Yes.
Because you get to. Well, no, you get to. Wait, is it? Yeah, you motorbike to the place, and then you go into RPD. Don't you have to
Yep.
go around Raccoon City before RPD?
That's before the motorbike. That is right
Oh,
before it.
right. You do all that
Yes.
Raccoon City stuff to get to the motorbike. Then you do the motorbike. You go into RPD, have that little, oh my God, nostalgia. Welcome, Leon. And then you walk around the corner and you hear them talking, and then it's Orphanage. They are really close. Maybe that's the problem, is they're close together. Spread out, they probably wouldn't have been such a pain in the ass upon replay. Like I say, first
Yes.
playthrough, not a problem. Speaking of which, first playthrough, I'll keep the spoiler tag down here.
Victor Gideon. That's his
Gideon,
name.
thank you. Yeah. All I could think was Victor Creel, and I was like, that's Stranger Things. Robert Englund, Freddy Krueger. One day we'll talk about him. That'd be great. But the thing about the ending, not the ending. What was I getting at? Oh yeah, the ending of Requiem. So I figured destroying Elpis, was that the right? No, yeah, destroying it was the right thing to do, right? Just to destroy it, and then it's like, and then Leon died. I'm like, oh my God, and then there's credits. I was like, oh. And then after, it's like, do you want to go back and make another decision? I was like, I guess. I kind of got the ending I wanted. And so I went back, and I, of course, release Elpis. And then you get the actual boss fight. I'm like, how did this game end without a boss fight? Oh, it's supposed to. I did the wrong ending. So I guess in canon, Leon lives. But not in my mind. In my mind, he died in 2 different games. You can't kill him twice, Capcom, and tell me he's going to be in Resident Evil 10. He shouldn't be in Resident Evil 10. Resident Evil 10 should be Jill. It should be Chris. I want a return to form. Do not do another Resident Evil 1 remake. I'll take it. I'll take a Resident Evil 1 remake in the new way they do remakes. But instead of doing that, give me a Resident Evil 10 with the original cast of Resident Evil 1. Give me Barry Burton back. I love Barry Burton. He didn't, I think he was in one of the, not the Umbrella Chronicles, what is it, Revelations. Him, his daughter. I played some of those games, and there's some stories there, and there's a lot of Resident Evil lore. Like, there's stuff you find, and you realize it's connected to this, to that, to this, and stuff kind of goes off to the side. But you know what really went off to the side, Joker? What really got sidetracked when it comes to Resident Evil? The movies. Now, I love Resident Evil. When they came out, one after the other, I saw opening night. The very first Resident Evil I was so excited for. What was it, 2001, 2002? No, 2000, I don't know. 2000, what had to be 2001?
2003, I think.
2003? Oh, okay. Oh, wow, that's crazy. So I remember going to the theater, so excited. I don't even care. At that moment, I saw Resident Evil as a movie. Biggest, happiest thing. Like, Mortal Kombat being made into a movie was great. When I was younger, Super Mario Brothers, I loved the original live-action movie just because I think I was like 11 when it came out. I saw it like 12 times in the theater. I wasn't even a huge Mario fan. I liked Sonic. I liked Genesis. But the idea that a video game was made into a movie was like, these are video game characters being acted out. Like, it's big enough, Like, so when that started, it was like, So we can all thank, the original Super Mario Brothers for being the first, I don't know if it was the first, but the first that I knew of, video game to movie adaptation. And then we got Mortal Kombat, which was great, and then Street Fighter was garbage. Do not ever watch the 1990s Street Fighter unless you want to see M. Bison. Watch all the M. Bison scenes because Raul Julia, was it Raul Julia? Can't remember his name exactly, but that's what his name sounds like. The guy from Addams Family. He is great as M. Bison, and he said he did it because his kids love the game. And there's a lot of actors that do that. Like Nicolas Cage is in Dead by Daylight because his kid plays the game. Like, it's so cool to see actors do things because, to, make their families happy with things. It's like, hey, you're into this? Hey, I'm going to do something like that, Got a little off topic there. But anyway, so the original Resident Evil movie, I had no problem with the original movie. Originally. As I watched it in the theater, happier with everything that happened. Oh my God, there's a mansion. Oh my God, there's a liquor. Oh my God, there's zombie. Everything. Umbrella. It's like everything Resident Evil. And then afterwards, upon reflection, not even that long after, within a year. So before the second one came out, it was like, they really didn't have any video game characters in there. It was literally Umbrella, the T-Virus, the mansion. Like, there was elements of Resident Evil, which at the time was enough. But in my mind, I was like, I would have taken an exact replica of Resident Evil 1 the game. Give me either direction. Give me Jill, give me Chris, mix it up. Give me those moments from the game replayed into the movie. That would have been the perfect Resident Evil adaptation for me. And then Resident Evil 2 comes out, Apocalypse. And I was like, okay, this will be good because they've got, Nemesis from the first movie, he ended the way, and then the second one is going to bring him in. And so Resident Evil Apocalypse actually did very well of blending what they already had with Alice with the idea of Resident Evil 2 and 3, because they brought in Jill and they had Carlos. So you had blended Resident Evil 2 and 3 the game into the movie. And then they blended Alice in there because it was like Alice versus Nemesis. Which one's the better bioweapon? And so it's like, so I think actually out of all 6, is it only 6, I think, right? Well, not counting the shitty Welcome to Raccoon City. I fell asleep during that. And I wanted to. I won't even watch the Netflix TV show because it just seems so wrong. But I did hear some good things. So I'm like, part of me wants to check it out now. But Resident Evil, I think Apocalypse was probably the best of the movies as far as faithful to the game, tried to do something, but it's only because of the game. Resident Evil 3, which was Extinction, was so different from the game that made it its own. The world was a wasteland, all this stuff. All of a sudden, it's like within however many years, like the whole place is covered in sand. It's like, why is everything a desert? You see any apocalypse movies or dystopian futures, and it's like it takes a long time for that shit to happen. Like even I Am Legend, it's like how many years of not taking care of the Times Square, and they've got like grass growing in the streets. It's like you're not going to have the world covered in desert, a couple years after nothing was happening. I don't know. Maybe there's something I missed there and I don't remember. But Extinction was a standalone, a decent standalone idea of a Resident Evil movie. And then I can't even remember because it really blurs after that. The fourth one they wanted to do the 3D. It was, oh my god! And then they had elements of Resident Evil 5 in there. Where they just all of a sudden jumped ahead from like what they had with like, they had the Wesker with his glowing eyes, and they had the big guys with the things in the prison, and and then oh my god, there's gonna be Chris Redfield. This was the biggest waste of time. They cast perfectly. Can't remember his name right now, but the guy who played in Prison Break, they cast him as Chris Redfield. I was like, yes, I see it, I feel it. Give me him as Chris Redfield, because Claire, they did with, as you can see on the screen, can't remember her name right now either, but she was not Claire. She was just there. Even the Jill did good. The Jill had the outfit. She was Jill-ish, but she wasn't Jill enough. But Claire was kind of a fail. But Chris, they nailed, and he didn't need a lot of screen time. He was locked up for no reason, and he was only in that one movie. They didn't bring him back for the sequel. I don't think they killed him. It was a lot of misses. And then between the 5th and the 6th, like, I can't remember which one it was, where they show like a flashback, but it's like not, and then the Alice clones, and then they show up, and then the boat with the people, and then they bring in Barry and Leon and Ada, and it's oh my god, but Barry was horribly done and died immediately, and all this stupid shit they did, and the big fight, like it really, they fell apart. So I'm looking forward to the new. I always looking for it. I don't care what it is. They could fail every time. I mean, look, I played Resident Evil 4, I played Resident Evil 5, and I played Resident Evil 6, and I still wanted to play Resident Evil 7. So, of course, after watching 4, 5, and 6, ironic, isn't it? 4, 5, and 6 of the games and 4, 5, and 6 of the movies are probably the worst of the series. But the new one about to come out this September, very excited for, because he's admitted it's not part of the story. It takes place in the Resident Evil universe. There's going to be things that you're going to notice from the games. There's going to be things that are unique to the story, but it's going to feel more like you're watching someone in a game. You're watching a character go through what you would, controlling the character, not a cast of a bunch of people and all this action and all this shit that they did. It's going to be more of a horror, and I think, I can't remember the guy's name now, I really should write shit down and do research, but that's what the fun thing about going off the top of the head is. the guy who's making it made Barbarian and what was the other one? We watched them. Do you remember what the other one was? It wasn't Weapons, was it? Maybe it was Weapons.
Yes.
So
It was Weapons.
Weapons was very unique, and the presentation and the horror of that was good. Barbarian, the presentation very well. Just the shotting. Oh, Zach Krieger, something like that. Damn. Can you look that up while we're doing this, Joker? I need that name now because I wanna say that name because those movies are really good, and I watched those. I think I might have seen part of Barbarian before, but once I heard this man was making Resident Evil, and it says in that first trailer, based on or from the maker, Zach Krieger nailed it. Hey, not just a hat rack. So because he's making it, he made those other movies. I watched Barbarian, I watched Weapons. I was like, wow, okay, I trust this man with Resident Evil, and especially because how he's talked about it and everything he said about it. Like, whereas Paul W.S. Anderson, who made the ones with Alice and stuff, it's like he liked the games too, but obviously Hollywood and everything, he couldn't make them. Whereas now, everyone needs the kind of Resident Evil movie we want, and this man, I think, can make the right one. It might not be perfect, it might not be Resident Evil, but it'll be more Resident Evil than anything we've had before, especially the Welcome to Raccoon City over full of I don't know. They tried too hard with that one and failed too bad. If that's even possible, to fail more than anything Alice was in. And I love Mia Jovovich. Fifth Element's one of my favorite movies. And so having her in that was another thing. I was like, oh my God, I want to see her kick ass. I want to see this, It was a good combination, but and I don't even know how they got through 6 movies. Usually after 3 or 4 movies, they're like, oh, okay, this isn't working. Cancel. We got to reboot, like Spider-Man. We had 3 movies with Tobey Maguire, and then, oh, hey, no, let's do something different. Andrew Garfield, 2 movies. No, let's do something different. And look at Tom Holland. He's been Spider-Man longer than anybody. So it just takes time to find the right person or find the right studio to make it right, and they're willing to try over and over. That's why we still have, they remake, Frankenstein and the Mummy and Dracula. You see all these stories over and over because the stories are good. They're good. But it just needs to be in the right hands to make them great. And so, yeah, as far as the movies, I think that's funny, though, that 4, 5, and 6 of the movies and 4, 5, and 6 of the games are my least favorite. Although, like I said, I do have a different kind of love for Resident Evil 5 because of my experience playing it with my daughter. Like, I would play that now. She come over, we'll hook that right up. We'll play Resident Evil 5, no problem. We still talk about it to this day. And it's probably been 15 years or so. I can't even remember. I saw it recently. It was popped up on Facebook when I said when it released, and I announced when I finished it. It was like, oh my God! I love those Facebook memories when it's like, yes, those are the times. But yeah. So that's my personal 30-year history with the one and only Resident Evil. But next week, hold on, we'll just get the mood back here, or take the mood away. Next week, we will get back into, we did a little bit here, but we'll dive a little bit deeper into some WWE. I'm really glad we did the poll so we could get something different. Because like I said, we're not just a hat rack. I want to talk about all sorts of stuff. It was just the King of the Ring was a very hot topic and not as hot as we wanted it to be with LA Knight. But next week we'll dive into, obviously, like we got here, Hell in a Cell, Brock and Oba, Seth and Roman, finally again, like this Liv and Io, the rematch from Queen of the Ring. So, and what's going to happen with Sami? What's going to happen on Smackdown? And hopefully we'll get Gunther versus Nick Aldis even. But we're going to put another poll up. Let us know in the comments as well. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I probably should have said that earlier because no one usually watches these things till the end. Any videos. I usually miss the last minute too. So I'll put some more comments down. We'll try and spread the love some more. And yeah, we'll see you next week.